Well, again, good morning. If you're here for the first time, we are just delighted that you're with us today. I want to share with you just some few basics about Unity so you'll know a little bit more about us. In Unity, we believe that there is only one presence and one power, and that is God, and that God is good, and God is the pure essence of love. We believe that we have come forth from Godness, that we are Godness expressing. I read something the other day that said we are God's attire. So it's our human body is God's attire, and that we are here to express the fullness of love and of life and of hope and of peace and of truth in our world. And we believe that we are co-creators with the divine, that we have been gifted a thinking mind, and we get to choose what we're going to focus on. And it is through our focus, through our consciousness, that we are quote unquote asking. And then we believe in the power of affirmative prayer. We believe in the power of meditation. We believe in the power of gratitude. And our last principle is it's not enough to know it. We must live the truth that we know. And hopefully that's what you're hearing every week, is how we can more fully live the truth that we know. For this year, at least once a month, we are focusing on one of the 12 powers of man as brought forth by Charles Fillmore, our co-founder, remembering that these powers do work together. He related each of the 12 powers to a disciple that most represented that power and a placement in our body, and I don't think he did the color, but colors came along later. So we talked about the power of love, that it is the one and only presence and power, that's why we're here, that love is the great and grand healer. Love always wins. We talked about the power of wisdom, and we talked about how we can use our power of wisdom to better discern things in our life. We talked about the power of faith, and that's our ability to believe even when we cannot yet see. That's our ability to trust when things seem to be falling apart, or when things are falling apart, that always something new and greater is emerging. We talked about the power of understanding, and in that knowing that God stands under everything. We talked about the power of release, and that's our ability to let go of the habits, the thoughts, the ideas that do not serve our greater expression, and sometimes to let go of situations and of relationships, of things like that. We talked about our power of order, and order is our ability to keep God first in all things. Order, divine order, again, is also recognizing that when things are kind of chaotic in our lives, that a beautiful divine order, again, will emerge out of that. And we talked about our power of zeal. And zeal is our ability to spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that ought to be done by me. Yes? Yes. So today we are talking about our power of power. Charles Fillmore says that man is the power of God in action, that we can learn to use the power of God within us to improve our lives. This magnificent God power flows through every cell of our body all the time. So get this, that man, we are the power of God in action. That's pretty strong, isn't it? We are that, and that this magnificent God power flows through every cell of our being all the time, without fail. So the disciple that represents power is Philip. And Philip, his name means lover of horses. And we know that horses have great power. The color is purple, hence purple. And I've noticed some other beautiful purples out there today as well. And the placement in the body is found in the hollow of the throat, just behind the base of the tongue. Now, there's a difference between power and strength strength is one of our 12 powers. Strength is our ability to endure. It's our ability to of being stable and to move forward. And power is the vital energy that enables us to accomplish, to follow through. Strength is the vessel through which the power flows. And so I love this. I read this in a book, one of the 12 powers, to compare it to electricity. that electrical energy flows over a wire to bring us an output of power. Strength is the quality of the conductor or wire over which the current flows. So strength for us, when we talk about this, our beingness is the strength. Power is the energy itself. And that's what we want to get today, is that we are imbued with this power that is the energy itself, that it is flowing through us all the time and is totally accessible to us all the time. Power is my ability to convert an idea into words that I speak, actions that I take, and things that I build. That's the power that moves me. So, The title of today's talk is Power versus Force. And the reason I titled it that is because when we look around in our world, in our personal lives, in our past, in our present, we see something that sometimes we call powerful. We'll say somebody is powerful or an organization is powerful, when in reality, they're using force. They're trying to force their ideas upon you. They're trying to force somebody to be a certain way. But in our humanness, we say, oh my God, they're so powerful. Well, that's not true power, you guys. And that's what I really want us to understand today, is that we are here not to have power over. We are here to be in power with. To be in power with the divine that is within us, and then to be in power with each other, to really and truly be able to bring forth a world that truly works for all of us. Do you believe that that's possible? That we can collectively help to bring that forth, that someday we could actually live in a world that works for all of us? Where we accept the diversity of opinions and we don't make each other wrong, and we live in a state of peace. And that's the ability that we have through this power. Now, we all have the same amount of power flowing through us. Nobody has any more, nobody has any less. But sometimes we can look in our lives and we use this thing called comparison. Does anybody ever compare themselves to anybody else or anything? And it kind of is a dirty word, really. I would like to get that out of our vocabulary in this sense, because it's really not healthy for us when it comes to that. Sometimes it's okay. But the reality is that nobody has any more power and nobody has any less power than anybody else. That it is a reservoir that is infinite within every single one of us. David Williams, who co-wrote The 12 Powers Within You, said, "You are a person of power. You are empowered by owning your power." What does it mean to own your power? We often give our power away. We dissociate ourselves from our power. We take our power and we put it out there in certain people, circumstances, situations, and struggles. Anybody ever put their power outside of themselves? Ever? Yesterday, this morning. Yeah. So I want to share with you some ways that we do give our power away. You know, when we're saying things like, "You make me mad," that means that you have power over me, that you're powerful enough to take away my present moment. We say things like, "You're making me a nervous wreck," or "You're breaking my heart," or "You are the reason that I did this. You're the reason that I'm acting like that." And again, we are saying, "You are so powerful and I'm powerless." Now recognize that these things come up in our lives, don't they? These things come up where we get so angry in the moment, and we may say those things may come out of our mouth. And here's the thing about this that I want us to understand. In our humanness, in our human journey, we're going to go there. But we're not here just to live this human journey. And clearly, we wouldn't be here if we just wanted to live from that aspect. We are here because we really want to bring that spiritual aspect of our lives into its full presence in our lives. And so we may find ourselves in some situations just going, "You're making me crazy," or, "You're making me so nervous about that." And that may come up for us. But our opportunity in those moments is to, take a step back. Take a step back and breathe, because I promise you, if that's coming up, it's something to be healed. It's something to be healed in here. And we may be sitting there going, oh my gosh, I could never be in that place where I don't have that reaction. I've given our power away. Either we can ultimately wake up in those moments, recognize it, make a different choice, or we can come away from it and say, wow, okay, I'm going to be gentle with myself about this, and I totally gave my power over to this person just now. What is it that's coming up to be healed, and how could I do it differently? I'm always one to say, be gentle with yourselves. Don't beat yourself up. That's going to take you down the road that you don't want to go down. But start to wake up and to recognize that. Now, another way we give our power away is that we put our life, happiness, and security in others. And we say things like, you make me so happy. Without you, my life would be so empty and nothing. Without your love, I would just wither up and disappear. And these things, they sound really good, but we have to recognize that place where we are putting that power outside of ourselves. In essence, we're saying, you have the ability to make me happy. So if I'm not happy, it's your fault. Isn't that easy to put that out there on somebody else? It's your fault. And that is so disempowering for us. Now hear me on this too. There's a difference between saying these things, but still being in your power. You say these things because you do feel that, but you know that the deeper truth is, I'm going to be okay no matter what, because I own my power. So there's just that difference. Now, another way that we give our power away is when we say things like, I can't. There's no possible way. We say things like, this is just the way I am and I can't change, or there's no option here for healing to occur, or this relationship could never get better. That's a way that we give our power away as well. And so one of the ways to reclaim our power is to start recognizing what we're saying. Because here's the thing, the words that we're using by default reflect what is in our consciousness, our heart, and our mind. And so one of the ways that we can start to change that is by being conscious about the words that we're saying. And we'll talk more about that. Matthew 15:11 says, for out of the abundance of the heart, consciousness, the mouth speaketh. But those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart, and they can defile a man. And so it's recognizing that what is coming out, because no matter what's coming out, it's either expanding and uplifting or it's decreasing. And so what is coming out there? And okay, I'll talk more about this in a second. Proverbs 18:21 says, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and there is one whose rash words are like sword thrusts, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. And so it's recognizing that there is so much power in our words, and that it is, the placement in the body is at the base of the tongue, and so we ours in claiming that power, one of the ways that we claim that is through the spoken word. And it's recognizing, again, what words am I speaking? I was talking to Dwayne Koppler in between services, and he was telling me that when he and Mary were, first really getting into understanding the power of the mind, that they had these affirmations that they would use. And he said, we spoke those things out loud all the time. And here's the thing about this, is that sometimes we have to take action in order to change every time our beliefs. But what I'm saying here is that when something isn't exactly or even closely what we would like to experience in our life, where does our mind go? By default, it goes on what's not working. It goes on what's wrong. And generally, our words are affirming that in our lives. We tell people about it. We think about it. And so the idea here is that we are going to override that by speaking words with power from this center of power within us, and we're going to speak them with authority. And we're going to command those other things to get behind us. When we look at our great master teacher, Jesus, and let's look at just some of the ways that he used the power of his words. And so when the disciples and Jesus were on the boat, and he's sleeping, and this big storm comes up, and the disciples are afraid, and so they wake Jesus up. And so Jesus, I don't believe that he stood up and said, "Peace, be still, and know that I am God." And here's the thing, that all of that's going on represents our thoughts. When we're in that fear and we're focused and we're just going crazy, what he did was he stood up and he said, "Peace, be still, and know that I am God." Peace, be still. And I know in my own life, when my mind gets that monkey mind, when I'm in that place of focusing on what I don't really want, I have to use that in order to get my thoughts to, I want to say to mind me, but I know that's not really the word that I want, but that I'm commanding them. And that's what Jesus did. And he did it with authority, and he did it with power. He brought that forth in him. And so let's look at when he raised Lazarus from the dead. Do you think that he stood out there and said, "Hey, Lazarus, buddy, come on forward"? No, he spoke with authority. That which seems like it is impossible, we speak with authority, and we say, "Lazarus, come forth." And even when it's not happening or it doesn't look like it's happening, we continue to speak it with power. And how about in one of the scriptures, he talks about, when we have this faith, we can say to this mountain, "Be thou removed and cast into the sea," and it will be done. Now, I don't believe that he meant that literally. I believe that the mountains refer to those places in our life where, again, it seems impossible, where people are telling us it's impossible, where our past experiences said, there's no getting around this, or where we're just believing that. And so he says when those mountains come into your life, then you're going to speak with authority and with power, and you're going to say, "Be thou removed and cast into the sea." And you're going to speak it with power, and you're going to do it over and over and over again until that becomes your consciousness, that that whatever it is no longer in front of you. It no longer has any power over you. And I love the story with the man by the pool at Bethesda. You've been there for decades. And Jesus came over to him and he said, "Do you want to be healed?" And he said, "Yes." And so he's like, "Well, pick up your mat and walk." And so the guy picks up his mat and he walks. Well, a little bit later, Jesus runs into him and he said, "Now remember, go and sin no more." And what that means, and I love this, is that, okay, so we're gonna use our authority, we're gonna use our power to command things in our life, to command our thoughts, and we're gonna get that focus. But the sin no more is don't go back to your stinking thinking. Don't go back to your error thinking, because that's what sin is, missing the mark. And so we use that with authority and power, and then we do whatever we need to do to keep our focus there. No matter what is showing up, no matter how things are going, we continue to speak it and to know it. And amazing things will happen. Amazing transformations will occur. Things will show up that you couldn't even have possibly imagined will show up. In my personal experience, I shared with you that it really was about 6 months after my husband Sean passed away. But I had been dealing with fibromyalgia, and I was in incredible pain every single day for, like a year and a half. And I'd reached my lowest point about 6 months after he died. And I was mentally, spiritually, physically, I was in so much pain. And deep in me, the only thing that I could hold on to was, I just want to feel better. I just want to feel better. And I would just hold on to that. And I would just say, that's the only thing I could say. I just want to feel better. But that became louder and louder. I just want to feel better. I just want to feel better. I just want to feel better. Well, then it started to come around to, I know I'm going to be okay. I know I'm going to be okay. And I was saying that more about my physical body. Now, the interesting thing about that is that most people that you talk to about fibromyalgia don't have that belief system that they can be okay. You know, we're told this is a lifelong thing, this is always going to happen, but all of a sudden something anchored in with me, and I was like, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. Well, I love how the universe works because our last principles take action, and then people show up. So one of my best friends shows up, and she tells me about this doctor who does bioidentical hormones. So I go to this doctor and do these bioidentical hormones, but this doctor at that time also suggests I go gluten-free. I'm like, I will do anything. So I go gluten-free. And the reality today is that I am almost 180 degrees from where I was a couple of years ago. That I know, yeah, it's amazing. It is. It's like a miracle. I wake up every day and I'm not dealing with that fibromyalgia pain. I mean, it's a rare thing every so often. And every day I'm so grateful. And it is something, you know, it's a very real thing. It's a tangible thing that has happened in my life that for all intents and purposes that would have been impossible. That today I could stand up here and say, wow, I'm a different person. I feel so much better. I'm not saying that's everybody's answer, but I'm saying that there are answers. And what we do in our humanness is we get so complacent and we just accept what is. And we don't open the door that there's other possibilities for us. And all that I did was I said, I just want to feel better. And I know I'm going to be okay. I know I'm going to be okay. I would just, get behind me. All those other thoughts and ideas, anything anybody's saying, I know I'm going to be okay. And this is what I just really want to encourage all of us today, is to wake up to your power. Wake up to your power and start activating that power and utilizing that power in your daily experience and in your life. And don't give up. Don't give up. Keep on keeping on with it. Keep on commanding it. I love, this was from one of the books I read. When Jesus said, the words that I have spoken unto you are spirit and are life, he meant that through the spoken word, he conveyed an inner spiritual quickening quality that would enter the mind of the recipient and awaken the inactive spirit and life. And we don't need to read the rest of that. And in this, it prefaces it with talking about the Holy Spirit that comes upon us, and the Holy Spirit descends upon us. And the Holy Spirit is that conscious recognition that we are so much more, and that we are aligned with all the potential and possibilities of God, that we are no longer coming from the intellectual mind, but that we are now moving into that place where we are coming from that greater, higher consciousness. We call it the superconscious. This is where we always want to be coming from. How many of us are always coming from there? And it's okay, because it's the journey, and it's practice. And we have the opportunity every day, many times a day, to practice that. But so we allow ourselves to get aligned with the super conscious mind, and that's where we get in there and we command through our spoken word, and we activate that center of power within us. And, that's really when we spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that ought to be done by us. So are you ready to activate that power within you? Yes. Awesome. No more excuses. No more excuses. Let yourself, if we want to have a different experience in life, you guys, we cannot leave this here. We cannot do it. We have to take this out into our daily life. And if that means you get on the web and you listen to this talk over and over to be reminded, then that's what it means. Get a CD, whatever. But we cannot leave it here. because nothing changes if we don't do the work that is ours to do. Okay? Okay, the power of power. You are a powerful being. You are powerful beyond measure. All the power that you need is right within you. It's all around you, and it is infinite. You can never run out of this power. Isn't that great? You can never run out of it. That's exciting. So we're going to close with some affirmations today. So we'll just start at the top. Okay, together. I plug into my inner power and miraculous demonstrations pour forth in my life. Yes, the prospering power of God is at work in all my affairs, and my life is abundantly enriched in all ways. I use my power to encourage and empower others to realize and express their greatest potential. From the center of power within me flows a mighty current of healing, life, love, and peace. And I want to share with you that if there was any one of these that kind of like, oh, not sure, that's the one to work on. That's the one to get in your power space with. That's the one to command and to affirm. And so I see each and every one of us here today. I see that that power has been activated in each and every one of us. And I see each of us going out into our world, into our daily lives, and remembering and calling forth our greater good. And I say, namaste. Namaste.